Is this the MacBook Air competitor that Windows has been waiting for? Sort of, but not quite. Still, the ZenBook A14 is a massive leap for Windows on ARM, and after using it for a couple of weeks, I really wish that I could use this as my main device, but I can't. In this video, I want to tell you why this thing is a killer laptop, who it's actually for, and why it doesn't quite work for me and what I need out of it. Let's start with the first impressions, because the moment you pick this thing up, it's actually quite shocking. Firstly, it's insanely light. Oh my God, it's super light. What the hell? I'm not exaggerating that. Like, I wish I had a scale here. I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm being like a shill or something, but like, this is like unnatural. Like, this is weird. The model that I've been using with the Snapdragon X comes in at just under a kilogram. For context, the M4 MacBook Pro that I use is nearly double that. Now, the ZenBook A14 on the other hand has been way easier to lug around. It's been my go-to laptop for days that I'm at the studio. It's what I've taken to events, and I really do notice the difference in weight. Okay, I have to show you something that's actually hilarious. So I wasn't even supposed to be like recording a video about this laptop today. Like subconsciously, this is the laptop that I decided to choose to take with me today, simply because it is just insanely light and like, it's just something that I can carry around and not really think about. Don't underestimate how much impact having a thin and light laptop actually makes, because the fact that like I could just literally hold this thing out with one hand and use it is actually insane. Like I'm not kidding. This is something that isn't uncomfortable. If I tried to do this on my MacBook, my fingers would probably be broken already. And despite it being so light, nothing is really missing. At least if what you need from a laptop isn't insanely demanding. There's a stunning 1200p OLED display, which is 14 inches. You have either a 512 gig SSD or 1 terabyte. I have the 512 gig model. And even though it comes with 16 gigs of RAM at the base, it can be spec'd up to 32 gigabytes, which might be overkill for this laptop, to be honest. What's crazy though is that despite how thin and light this thing actually is, it's not lacking at all when it comes to the port selection. There's 2 USB 4 ports, a full-sized USB-A, a headphone microphone combo jack, and even a full-sized HDMI 2.1. Now, compared to the MacBook Air, this is lighter by about 300 grams, it has more ports, and in my opinion, a much better display. Mainly because the Air is still rocking an LCD panel, but also let's not forget that the MacBook Air also only starts at 256 gigs of storage. Let's not get it twisted though. The ZenBook A14 does not outperform the MacBook Air. It's running the Snapdragon X SoC, which is ARM-based, just like Apple's chips, but Windows on ARM isn't quite at macOS level yet. Even if the raw performance of the chip is solid, it's still held back a tiny bit. Now, I'll come back to the whole performance thing later, but I want to focus on why this thing has actually made me leave my MacBook at home for the last couple of weeks and why I've enjoyed using it so much. Before we go further though, a like and a sub to the channel is always appreciated. We are over halfway to 100,000 subscribers, which is ridiculous, and I can't believe I'm saying that. So thank you for all of the support that you've been showing me. Anyways, aside from performance, there's 2 things that I look for in a laptop. Number 1, build quality. And number 2, I call this usability, which comes down to things like the keyboard, trackpad, and display, all of the things that typically impact comfort and create barriers from having a good experience. Now, at first glance, this laptop feels like plastic, which is weirdly a good thing. It's not cold to the touch, which makes it very comfortable on bare skin, unlike the aluminum on my MacBook, but it's actually not plastic. It's what ASUS calls ceraluminum, which is kind of like a mix between ceramic and aluminum. It's rigid, it has this soft, almost matte-like feel, and unlike the MacBook, this color doesn't come from painting or anodization, so if you are to scratch it, it wouldn't be as noticeable since the color is the same throughout the entire chassis. And when it comes to the keyboard on this thing, it's actually impressive. It has more travel than a MacBook, so it doesn't feel as snappy, and it's a bit softer, but everything that I do on it feels intentional and comfortable. I've written a bunch of scripts on this thing. Honestly, I prefer it to the MacBook's keyboard, which is kind of rare for me, to be honest. The keycaps feel durable. My MacBook Pro that I've just upgraded to from the M3 Pro is already starting to show these oil stains, which is actually just the keycap itself wearing away. And I don't see any of that happening on the A14, though I haven't used it for as long, so it could show up, but I highly doubt it. I just feel like the MacBook keyboard has very bad quality control. The keycaps become shiny after like a week of me touching it. And the trackpad on the A14, it's acceptable. It's not haptic. They call this a a precision touchpad, but it's a diving board style trackpad. Though you can click almost anywhere with the same level of pressure, and the tracking itself is smooth. And without sounding like I'm glazing this thing, this is the best diving board style trackpad that I've used. It's still not haptic level, it's still not MacBook level, but it is very good nonetheless. The display, on the other hand, though, I actually love it. The 14-inch OLED 16:10 display has 600 nits of brightness, and it looks wild, man. Like, it's punchy, it's vibrant, it has amazing contrast, and it even makes Windows look good. Okay, that's obviously a joke. Don't kill me. Just because I use a Mac, I am a very big PC master race guy, even though I don't use it for editing. But still, everything on this thing looks really impressive. Now, it's only 60 Hertz, which is totally fine for what I do. I mean, I prefer higher refresh rates, but even something like the MacBook Air doesn't have a 120 Hertz panel. It's totally fine for what I've been using it for, and I don't find the refresh rate to be limiting or anything. And OLED realistically does help smooth things out because of the gray to gray pixel response time being a lot lower than it is on LCD. Though, I did notice that the colors were a bit oversaturated, to be honest. Like in my videos, the colors lean more toward the red, so my face looks a lot more rosy. It's not something that's a huge deal, but if you are gonna be using this for something like Lightroom and doing photo editing, I would highly recommend that you spend some time I would highly recommend that you spend some time to tweak the color profile within Windows, just so that you can get the more accurate look that you need for photo editing. Though for how I've been using it for writing scripts, emails, organizing my server, doing some content planning, and watching movies and TVs, it's actually been great. The display being almost bezel-less paired with the portability of this thing makes it really nice to use for a casual work and travel laptop. Now, I was kind of disappointed in the speakers, to be honest, mainly just because they're downward firing, so if you're using it on your lap or on a soft surface, the sound will be more muffled. Now, not to say that they sound bad, they actually do sound good. It's just that the direction that they fire in isn't optimal for listening. I wish the speakers were front firing, whether that was through the keyboard or the side of the laptop. They actually do a fantastic job with this on the G14 OLED, which is a gaming laptop, but it is a similar size, so I'm not entirely sure why ASUS had to compromise in this way. Though, for me personally, it's not a deal breaker. When I'm using a laptop, most of the time, I'm using something like these, which are my wired ear pods, and they work over USB-C. I actually use these to edit. They sound great. But yeah, I can see how for some people it could be a deal breaker. Okay, now let's go back to why I personally won't use this thing for work. Besides the obvious, this isn't a desktop replacement, nor does it directly compare to something with a lot more GPU horsepower. So apps like DaVinci Resolve do work if I wanted to do some video editing, but it's not something that for my workflow is gonna give me an ideal or optimal experience. Now, I've had no issues with this in Adobe Lightroom when I was editing some photos of the S25 Edge, but ultimately it really came down to this laptop just not being designed for the work that I do. And let me be clear about something. That's not what ASUS is targeting with this device. So I'm not trying to put words in their mouth. I'm not saying that this is the content creator's dream laptop or anything. It's not designed for that at all. But to be honest, I kind of wish it was because I love the form factor of it. So rather than pretend that it's capable and just try to fit this thing in like I did with that budget VivoBook a couple of months ago, I just used this thing for how it was intended to be used, and I love it. I've been taking this thing to the coffee shop to work on my scripts and catch up on my emails. Yeah, I just had to send over like a draft for something because there's gonna be like an integration, and I'm on hotspot. And it just works so well. Like, the screen is super bright. It's very legible even in the car, and I'm kind of blown out right now on the camera because it's like overcast, but it's really bright outside. I don't know, the keyboard, the display, it's just like a fantastic experience. If you're not looking for anything that is like insanely powerful or overkill for like maybe an engineering position, or you're in school for that kind of stuff, or you're not doing like content creation and whatnot, this thing is really good. Like, if you're someone that just needs a laptop to do laptop things, it's perfect. Like, this thing is actually just perfect. And I've used this thing to dump footage from my camera, mostly because the SD card that I have in my camera is only 128 gigabytes. Granted, I have had to use a USB-C to SD card adapter, but it worked great. And like I said, outside of content consumption, I've been using this for pretty much all of the businessy things that I do in the back end. And yeah, it's honestly been fantastic. And I guess leading into that, when it comes to the performance, whether it's thermals or the battery life, I do actually have a lot to say about it. Now, I did try to play games on here, lighter titles, granted, but I was actually kind of surprised. Like Cult of the Lamb and stuff runs fine on it. It's something that could give you a realistically decent experience if you did just have some time to kill and wanted to play a little game. But obviously it's not intended as a gaming laptop. there are games that I play that do work well on here, so it's something that could do the job if I had some free time. Now, I want to start with the battery life on here though. There's a 70 watt-hour battery inside the A14, which is quite large. Now, combine that with a power efficient chip like the Snapdragon X, and even with the Windows bulk and overhead, you can get some really insane battery life. Now, ASUS claims 32 hours. When companies claim things, there are, a lot that they do in the background. They turn off certain features like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. They'll have the screen brightness set to like half or like a quarter. Now, this claim seems very outlandish, and what I like to do usually is take that claim and cut it by a quarter. I find that almost always ends up in a realm of realistic expectation. But for things that I was doing outside of playing games, I was actually able to get around 12 to 15 hours out of it. And if you were just using this thing for video playback, I've seen reports of people getting around 20 hours, which is actually just really good. It's to the point where I actually just don't even take a charger with me because I really don't find myself ever actually needing it. But ASUS do include a 65 watt power adapter. Thankfully, it's not a bulky brick, it's super light, it's easy to carry, but any 65 watt or higher power delivery charger will be enough for this, so you don't need to carry an additional brick with you. Just like any laptop though, when charging it does get a little warm, and by warm, I actually just mean warm, it doesn't get hot. It's still very comfortable to use on bare skin, so if you're wearing shorts or anything, even under any meaningful load, you're gonna be fine. There actually is a fan, it's not passively cooled like the MacBook Air, and I've really only ever heard it when I was just testing games like I mentioned, and it's not like an annoying high-pitched whine, and it also isn't loud. I will say everything that I've been doing on this laptop has been ridiculously snappy. I use the Zen browser, which is based on Firefox. It works amazing on ARM, and not once did I feel like I had to wait for something to load. But this is kind of where I want to bring this together a little bit and tell you who I think this is actually for. Because look, I really don't see the purpose to me doing things like benchmarking in apps like Lightroom or DaVinci Resolve. I don't think that this is the target audience, and again, ASUS doesn't claim that to be. Realistically, if this is a laptop that you're looking at, you're either some sort of professional in something like real estate, or you're a student. And my wife, for example, who's actually getting this after I'm done with the video, she was interested in this because she actually just needs a Windows laptop. Now, she's someone that does training and program development in the social work and human trafficking field. And she does also want to stretch her legs a little bit and get into OSINT, which is open source intelligence. So for her, the requirements are a little different, right? Like she needs a solid webcam, which this has, and it also has buttons for her to disable and enable the webcam and mute her mic on the keyboard. It has Windows Hello to log in with facial recognition, and it can actually turn on and off the display when she's looking at it or has walked away, which is good for her line of work because it often contains some sensitive information. ASUS also has a lot of AI features baked into this thing that'll allow you to blur your background, and it has noise cancellation for the microphone so that when you're on video calls, people are only seeing what's important and nothing else. So for someone like her, who since 2020 has been using the M1 MacBook Air, this is something that's going to fill all of her needs and more, and isn't something that's going to be limiting to her in any way. But like I said, if you're like me and video editing is your primary use case on your laptop, this isn't an ideal fit for you. That being said, if I was using a Mac Mini at home or my PC to edit videos on, I would honestly consider just using this thing as my travel laptop. The only problem is that when I travel, I actually need to edit because it's almost always for work. That being said though, by the time that you're seeing this video, I would have landed in Taiwan already, and I'm gonna be taking the ASUS G14 OLED with me, which is a high performance gaming laptop that is also kind of in like a thin and light form factor. So I'm gonna be living with that laptop while I'm there for about a week or so. If you're interested in seeing what a high performance Windows laptop does for those creative workflows and whatnot, that is definitely something to consider subscribing to this channel for, so that you can see it in your sub feed when the time comes. But anyways, thank you for watching. I actually had a lot of fun with this thing. I think there's more that I'd like to talk about later down the line. I think it'd be interesting to see my wife's perspective on her actually switching to the M1 Air to this laptop. If that's something that you'd want to see, drop a laptop emoji in the comments down below, and do that if you've watched this video all the way through. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.